Welcome to the instruction manual for your physical body. Why is it that I call it a physical body? Because our body is a vehicle. It's like an automobile. It's a vehicle that we use to get around. So I'd like you to start by just doing one thing. Just look at your hand for a moment. And as you're looking at your hand, you notice the lines and the fingers and turn it over and look at the nails. I have a question for you. Are you a hand? Now, I'm not being facetious, but are you a hand? No, of course not. You have a hand, you're not a hand. That means that your physical body is a vehicle that you use in order to get around your life. Now, that may seem simplistic, but it's very essential, because future programs that you'll be hearing will be the instruction manual for your energetic body and the instruction manual for your mental body. So in the ancient practices and the ancient teachings, they looked at our bodies as vehicles that we use, but the most important thing is that you are not a hand, you're not a foot, you're not a thought, you're not an emotion. These are things that you experience, and most definitely they exist and you feel them. However, you're the one who notices it. So in this ancient system, they would call you the knower or the observer. So the instruction manual for your physical body, it's important to know how this vehicle works. So when I was sent up to Montreal to start the Yoga Institute back in 1971, and I was teaching in the hospitals, I was teaching in the drug programs, the YMCAs, I was on my way one evening to go to class. It was a very cold January evening, and I stopped off because I noticed my front tire was low. It needed air. So I pulled into the local gas station, and there was someone in front of me, and I sat in the car waiting for them to finish putting air in the tires. Well, they probably spent about 5 minutes on the front driver's side tire, then, which is a long time to put air into a tire, then they went to the back driver's side tire and again took 5 minutes. Now, by now, I'm going to be late, so I got out of my car and I just said, "Excuse me, but what are you doing?" Because I was wondering how it would take so long to fill up the tire. And the fellow turned to me and said, oh, do you need to take it? Because I'm going to be a while. And I said, "Oh, well, thank you." So I began to put air in my tire. Only took a few moments. Gave it back to him. And I said, "By the way, what is it you're doing?" And he said, "I'm changing the air in my tires." Wow. Now, that's someone who doesn't understand that that's really not necessary. So just like your automobile, it's really good to know the proper fuel for it. It's important to know how it functions, important to use it according to its functionality. In the same way, you have a physical instrument. Your physical body functions in a very specific way. It was designed, it's 2.5 million years human beings have been around? That means the brain has evolved over that time. It's quite remarkable what the body is able to do, if you understand it. That's the key. So, if we had an instruction manual, wouldn't it be a lot easier to be able to function? Back in the 80s, the Red Cross put out an advertisement. It was a television ad, and it showed a little naked baby with a manual attached to its ankle. The baby was naked. Very cute. And the heading was, "Wouldn't it be great if we came in with an instruction manual?" I took that to heart. Yes, it is. In the next hour, what you're going to hear is everything that I do in my life in order to be healthy, to maintain my energy levels, to be able to be fit, to be able to handle the stress. So I'm going to share with you what 43 years of practice has done for me. So I've been performing an experiment for a very long period of time. So I've been practicing, studying, researching, and had the good opportunity to share it with my clients. So I'd be able to earn a living doing this. But at 65 years old, I am now at a point in my life where I realize how important it is to keep the body fit, to keep the mind clear, to keep my energy levels up. And because I work with so many people from around the world, the wonders of Skype, I Interact with people who, mostly entrepreneurs, business people who are very active but are noticing that their body isn't functioning at the highest level. So it's important then that we understand how to have a healthy body. So I'm going to be sharing with you my practices. Now, I was a meditation monk back in my 20s, and I've been practicing and teaching yoga, all aspects of yoga, the physical aspects, the breath, the mind, the philosophy, the psychology of yoga. And it's helped me a lot. Now, most of my clients come to me and they notice that their memory's not doing so well. They notice that either they have a physical disease or their energy levels are low. They don't have a healthy, active sex life, even though they have partners, but they just don't have that motivation. They're not sleeping through the night. They're not getting 8 hours of really good sleep. Their memory is getting worse. There's things you can do to have a healthier tomorrow. So don't believe what I'm going to share with you now. Take it as a hypothesis. I'm going to share with you my experiment on living my life and being as healthy as I can be, of having a mind that's as clear as possible. So the information is all out there. There's research. There's so much out there now in the world. Books, pamphlets, periodicals. So much is being published on how to have a healthier tomorrow. What I'm going to do is put it into a usable form for you. All right, the first thing is about sleep. I get 8 hours of sleep every single day. You need sleep. Sleep is when the body rejuvenates. There's 2 types of sleep. There's REM and non-REM sleep. The non-REM sleep, which has 4 stages, helps to rejuvenate the nervous system. It helps to get the whole body cleaned out, and so that you're ready for the next day. I make sure that at 9 p.m. every evening that I'm closing down shop. Now, there's exceptions, but the majority of times between 9 and 10 p.m. I'm in bed. So my wife and I shut off the TV, we don't have anything happening, we may read a book, but we're lying down in bed. And the reason for that is that studies have shown that the time between 9 p.m. and midnight are the healthiest, most productive time for sleep. You get the most out of sleep during this time. Not that you don't get benefits after midnight, but they're not as pronounced. And in a world with so much electricity and social media and so many things you can do with the lights on, we don't get the proper sleep. So I'm in bed sleeping and get 8 hours of good sleep. Then when I wake up, now this is a very important point. As soon as I wake up, I've been trained to immediately wake up, to not fall back to sleep. Now there's a reason for this. When you're sleeping during the night, if you think of an office building and the cleaners go in at night and they clean each of the offices, so they have all the floors done by the next morning, and then they take the garbage out and the building's ready to go at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. In the same way, your body during the evening when you're sleeping, it's a very important time to rejuvenate the nervous system, replenish the body, get the debris out, so all the toxins, the carbon toxins that accumulate during the day, get them out of the body. When you first awaken, the metabolism speed begins to speed up, and if you go back to sleep, those toxins are reabsorbed into your body. So remember, wake up and sit up. I have a 10-ounce glass of water next to my bed, and then as soon as I awaken, I drink that water. I don't sip it, I drink it down. So as soon as you wake up, don't go back to sleep, sit up and drink down that glass of water. Then after using the bathroom, you're ready to go. You want the water to flush out the system. You want to sit up because your metabolism is beginning to speed up. Now, as soon as your metabolism builds up, if you stay in bed, once again, that's not the thing to do. And that's why some people reawaken and have headaches, because the toxins have been reabsorbed. Now, after I get up and I'm ready to go for the day, the next thing I do in my day is I exercise. It's very interesting, the human body, but we were designed over this period of time. I mean, the human being's been around about 2.5 million years. It's an action vehicle. Our physical body is designed to move. We're not meant to sit as much as we do in our life. We're not meant to watch endless hours of TV, not to sit down and have drinks. We're meant to move our bodies, and exercise is important. There are studies that are coming out now that absolutely confirm the need to exercise, and not just 3 times a week as it used to be, but 6 times a week. So what I do is, and here's my activity, every day I move my body. So in the course of a day, let's say 6 days of the week, here's what I would have accomplished. I would have had a number of those days when I did 30 minutes of aerobic activity. Speed up the heartbeat, get the sweating going, clean out the toxins, move the energy through my body, open those channels up so that I feel great. And at 65 years old, I have to tell you, I have even more energy than I did in my 20s and 30s. My body is healthier, it functions at a higher level, so I know this experiment that I'm performing works. Again, I don't want you to believe it. Take it as an experiment. You be a scientist, and as a scientist, you perform the experiment with the hypothesis being, you can have a younger tomorrow. Now, aging is natural. Getting old is a state of mind, and that's not natural. And you affect the cellular reproduction in your body by how you think, how you act. Everything affects how the brain communicates to the body. So if you get up and start exercising, your body's going to like that. So I have 30 minutes of functional training 3 times a week. I make sure that I really push my body to be healthier. That's essential. To be as healthy as I can be is absolutely essential to have a younger tomorrow. So therefore, if you keep your body moving, if you challenge your body so that you don't get caught in old patterns, which is really one of the things, if you want to get older, repeat what you've done before over and over again, because the brain gets accustomed to it. And what I'm suggesting is, to have a younger tomorrow, you need to stimulate yourself and break out of old patterns. As we get older, unfortunately, we get so comfortable in the things that we've been doing. We get so comfortable with the way that we just do and act and watch TV and eat certain foods, that these patterns literally do not help us to be healthier. So I'm going to suggest throughout this program that you change those habits as often as you can. So 30 minutes of functional training for me is really powerful, because what it does is it forces me to break out of old patterns. I have to increase my balance. Right? So I'm not into building big muscles. I don't need bulk. What I want to have is good muscle mass. I want my metabolism to be strong. Many of you may already know that as you age, your metabolism naturally slows down, so your need for food decreases. So what that means is you have to challenge yourself to exercise more and eat less. Now, how's that for a cosmic joke? But that's the way it works. And if you want to age gracefully, and if you want a younger tomorrow, what you'll have to do is reevaluate everything that you're doing. So functional training does that. It really allows you to work your body in such a way that you increase its strength, its flexibility, and its balance. Now, all of those are very important. Also in my days, I have a routine where I do some hatha yoga. I increase my flexibility. I increase my strength and balance by using yoga. It's an amazing system. I've been practicing it for 43 years. It's kept me very strong. Now, another part of my day is I have minimum an hour a day where I meditate. Now, we're going to talk about that in a future program. But what that meditation does is a reset for the brain. So just like deep sleep allows you to rejuvenate, 20 minutes of a mindfulness training technique, I call it meditation, resets the brain. You get 2 hours benefit. So 20 minutes of meditation is comparable to 2 hours of non-REM sleep. That's pretty remarkable. Now, at this point, what I want to talk about, because exercise and everything we are sharing with you right now is dependent on you understanding something about the human body. The human body has two functions. It either is growing or it's not growing. That's the two things. It's either stimulated to live life fully, or the opposite, it begins to break down. I suggest a very good book. It's called A Younger Next Year. I'm a little impatient, so my program's called A Manual for a Younger Tomorrow. But Dr. Henry Lodge and Chris Crowley, they wrote a book called Younger Next Year, and excellent book. Really recommend it highly. And he says in the book that as an MD, he has found that the body has two functions, decay or growth. Those two things. And I agree with that totally. The way our brain is programmed is we have to challenge it continuously. And unfortunately, they can be as young as 30 years old. I have clients who are young and they're set in patterns. We can very easily get caught in unhealthy patterns. And the most unhealthy pattern is to repeat what you've already done and not challenge yourself to go into the unknown. I'm constantly giving my clients things that they need to do in order to change the patterns that are keeping them from being healthier. So, with exercise then, you want to function on three levels. You want to increase your flexibility, increase your strength, and increase your balance. All three of those is absolutely essential to remain healthy and to remain in balance. So, a younger tomorrow requires you to challenge yourself to go beyond what you're presently comfortable. In program 3, you're going to hear me talk about brain gym. And that's what I do in order to get the brain functioning at a higher level and to force the mind to think outside the box at the same time. The body-mind connection is very real. And research has shown that people who understand that the contents of your mind affect your physical body, well then not only do you want to exercise and get your physical body healthy, but you also want to stimulate your mind. And that's the mental body. So the instruction manual for the mental body will be in program 2. Now, in order to keep the brain functioning at a high level, and what we understand about how the brain works is that if you do stimulate it, if you do things differently, if you break out of patterns, brain cells grow. Now, one of the things about getting old, and I think most of you will recognize it, and by the way, I have 30-year-old clients who are getting old, so it's not really the age factor at all. It is a state of mind. And so these instructions and these exercises and everything that I'm sharing with you, they're good for people of all ages, but definitely when you reach your 50s and above, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, there's a tendency to not understand how the body functions, and therefore what we're unconsciously doing is we're stimulating the decay factor instead of stimulating the growth. So one of the ways that you can stimulate growth is doing things differently. Here's what I suggest, and it's what I do. Don't sleep on the same side of the bed. So if you have a partner, switch. My wife and I do that. Now, it knows it sounds a little weird. It is. But what we're doing is we're breaking out of routines. Brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Not only that, but stimulate balance. Brush your teeth while standing on one leg. Do things differently. Walk backwards. Change your routine. Don't always sit at the same place at the table. If you have a really comfortable chair in the living room, change around the furniture in your living room. Do anything you can do to mix things up. What they've shown, and research confirms this, is that if you break out of patterned, habitual behavior, the brain has to think. The body has to wake up. It has to figure out what to do. There's a challenge ahead. I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. And that stimulates growth. Do things differently. Actually, write down all the things that you absolutely need in order to be happy. What are your routines? Be very clear about your routines, because I'm suggesting that if you live your life focusing on changing some of those routines, you're going to see some remarkable, quite incredible changes in your body. So try it right now. Stand up and stand on one leg. But hold on to a chair or something in case you need it. But just have it ready. Put all the weight down the right leg. Gaze out in front of you and pick a point. Something at the other side of the room. Now, focusing on that object, shift your weight to your right leg and just raise your left leg. Breathe deeply. Deep, slow breaths. Now, see how balanced you are. If you need to use your hand to hold on, don't grab. Just place your hand for pressure. Eventually, you want to be able to stand for 1 full minute and maintain full balance. Now watch what happens. Have your hands ready so you cannot fall over, please. Close your eyes and see if you can, for 10 seconds, balance with your eyes closed. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Eyes open. Now, many of you I know were not able to hold it for the full 10 seconds. In order to stimulate your brain, in order to create a younger tomorrow, something's very, very necessary. One of the most important things is to break out of patterns and therefore stimulate the part of your brain that's in the decay mode. We want our brain to grow. Now let's stand on the other leg. So switch over to the left leg. Pick a point in front of you. Breathe deeply. Concentrate. Now raise your right foot off the floor a couple inches. Again, if you need your hands, hold on to the chair. Breathe deeply. See if you can balance on one leg. Now let's try 10 seconds, eyes closed. Close your eyes. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Open your eyes. In order to stimulate your body, you want to do things differently, as I've mentioned, okay? Balance is a big one. Don't lose your balance, please. You want to get better and better balance as you age. My mother, God bless her, passed a couple of years ago, and she had, for 7 years, the onset of Alzheimer's and then full-out Alzheimer's. And how we knew that something was wrong was she was beginning to lose her balance and fall. One of the first centers to go with dementia and Alzheimer's is the balance centers in the brain. So it's very important then to understand how balance plays an important role in keeping ourselves healthy. Exercise is essential. Studies have now showing that 6 days of exercise, an hour exercise 6 times a week is really essential to maintain a healthy body, to have that younger tomorrow. So it seems like most people are knowing that an exercise is important, but they're not really going about it in a systematic way. And please remember, increase your flexibility, get more flexible, increase your strength, and most importantly, maintain your balance as you age. Now, the next part of my day, and I talked about exercise and sleep, is my diet. We know that exercise is important. We know sleep is important. And in the last 4 decades, what I've realized is that the food that I put into my body definitely affects not only how I feel in the moment, but how my body functions during the day and obviously how I age. You know the old adage, you are what you eat. Well, that really is true in my life. Food affects how we think. Food affects our memory. Food affects how we handle the stressful moments in our day. So when I think about food, I've been trained to think of it as energy. It's a source of energy. That energy then is going to allow me to continue to age in a healthy way, or it could do the opposite. So I'd like to go over just the basics. Now, I'm not a nutritionist and I'm not a dietitian, so I'm not here to tell you about what you should eat and not eat. Not at all. I wouldn't want that particular job anyway. However, what I will share with you is what I've learned about diet and how it affects me and how it's helped me and assisted me in remaining healthy as I age. I've been trained to look at food in three categories. So there are food that's very settling. There's food that is grounding. And there's food that's energizing. So basically when you eat food, it's going to do one of three things. It's going to build you up and give you a lot of energy. You're going to want to move when you... Now, an example of that would be if you drink a cup of coffee, right? The surge of energy. Now, that's not really food. That's doing a completely different thing because it's stimulating the adrenal glands. But you get the idea. Certain foods want to get you up and do things. Other foods, when you eat it, you feel sluggish and tired and you just want to sit. And there's other foods when you eat it, they're very light, they're very airy, they're very relaxing. So when I'm eating food, I want to match the food to the activity that I'm going to do. So here's how I do it. When I'm hungry, I ask my stomach, what is it that it needs? What does my body need right now? Now, I don't ask my mind that because, well, that's where the comfort food and the fun food comes in. And since I'm not rigid, and I like to remain flexible, as we mentioned with exercise, flexibility with diet is also important. But I don't let my mind decide what the food is that I'm going to eat. Rather, I listen to my body. So my body knows when it needs protein. My body actually knows when it needs a certain vitamin because that type of food will come up. I'll crave a certain type of fruit, a mango. I'll crave a banana. I'll crave spinach or broccoli. Or I'll crave some fish or some tofu. So I've trained my body so that it's very sensitive and it will let me know what I need to eat. And actually my wife and I do that. We will sit down together and we'll both decide what we need to eat. And since most of our meals are prepared within 20 minutes, we can do that very effectively if we have the food in the house. We eat predominantly 3 different fruits every single day and 5 different vegetables every day. We get a proper amount of protein and we hydrate. But our food intake's a little bit different. Because I've been practicing for so many years and I like to keep my body healthy and strong, I don't like to feel heavy. So I'm able to maintain really proper weight for my age and for my height and keep my body feeling fit. So what I do is I eat 5 times a day. Now, instead of having 3 big meals, I break it down into 5 smaller meals. My first food intake will usually be a fruit meal in the morning. Now, sometimes if it's a cold morning, that might be some fruit mixed with some oatmeal, a little yogurt mixed in. But one thing that I like to do is I like to have a lighter meal in the morning. And once again, going back to how the sun works, the solar plexus, that's your abdominal region, and that's where metabolism takes place. So if you put a lot of heavy food into your body, what happens, it overpowers it and you don't metabolize it. So one of the things that we've done is we'll have 5 smaller meals. So somewhere after I've exercised, around 8 o'clock, then I'll have some fruit. A couple hours later, then I'll have a salad. And usually with the salad will be some feta cheese or some nuts, some kind of protein mixed in with it. And then later on, somewhere around 1 o'clock, I will have something like a protein. So I'll have some nuts. I'll have something like that during that period of time. And then finally, I'll have my big meal. But I have my big meal as close to 5 o'clock as possible because when the sun sets, our metabolism weakens. That's what I know about practicing yoga. In these ancient techniques and this science, they really understood how the metabolism and the body functions. And you want to make sure not only that you don't overeat, but that you don't eat when the sun is not shining. So if the sun goes down, and up here in the northern section of the world, it'll go down a little faster, and so it gets darker in winter, well, that's a little more difficult. But generally speaking, I try not to eat late at night. I don't like to go to sleep at night with food in my stomach. As a matter of fact, the food that is eaten late at night goes undigested into the system, and you don't get the nutrients out of it. So I go 5 times per day, lighter food intakes. Also, I've been trained not to combine liquids with solids. Now, this is very interesting because in our culture, the only time that people hydrate is usually when they sit down to eat. I make sure that I have a glass of water in front of me all the time. So when I'm working with my clients, I'm drinking. When I'm writing, I'm drinking. I'm making sure that I get at least 8-10 ounce glasses of water in my body. That's important. But when you mix a liquid with a solid, so you eat some food, you chew it, so you begin the whole process right there in your mouth. You're beginning the digestive process. The digestive enzymes for that particular food, the brain recognizes it, sends a signal, and those enzymes get chewed into the food. It then goes down into the stomach, and the stomach is waiting, so it knows exactly what enzymes it needs to digest that particular type of food. I'll talk about that in a moment. At that point, it's a solid being slowly churned around, so some of the liquid, which is of course, the liquid that's mixed in is the digestive enzymes, and it's being mixed with the food. Now, if in that process you drink a couple slugs of water, what happens to the digestive enzymes? They're diluted. So your ability to break down food, to take the nutrients out of the food so that your cells can use them to reproduce properly, so that you can remain healthy, you're decreasing that ability. So I've been trained not to drink when I eat, and that goes really against what I see going on around me all the time. And for those of you, by the way, just a quick side note, if you drink cold water will prevent the digestive enzymes from being properly secreted. Stay away from cold water. Get that ice out of your water. It's not good for the digestive process. At other times, it's fine. It's when you're having solids in your stomach. So when I'm eating, what I'm looking at is, in the morning, I want the fruit. This is going to give me instant energy. It's going to help me feel light. Then I want some protein in my body so I can break it down and I can use that protein for sustained energy. If I eat enough vegetables and I eat enough fruit, it's quite remarkable how quickly the body continues to get healthier. I want to eat food that will keep my metabolism working. That's important. The other thing I want, and this has had to do with food, is you don't want to have too much acidity in your body. The proper balance between alkalinity and acidity is essential. So I would suggest get a hold of a dietitian, have them go through your diet, see what kind of acidic foods you're having, what kind of alkaline foods, make sure you're getting enough nutrients in your body. That's important. Now, in the second program, the instruction manual for your energetic body, we're going to be going over the importance of oxygen in your body. Because oxygen allows you to have all the energy that you're going to need in order to live a healthy, younger tomorrow. But the food you eat also can do that. So once again, if you're having a solid food and you're mixing liquids on top of it, well, you're diluting it. That undigested food goes into your bowels, and that causes all kinds of problems. Our physical body is remarkable. It's designed literally over the last 2.5 million years that human beings have been walking the planet. It has a phenomenal system where it can take in nutrients, break them down, assimilate them, use them, burn them, and then get rid of the toxic residue. But we have to learn how to have a strong digestive system. We have to make sure that we're eating the proper food. So no matter what diet you're eating, make sure that you're getting the nutrients from your food. That's proper digestion, proper elimination. All of these things are important. This ties in with proper sleep and exercise. We have the ability to change, to be healthier, to create the kind of life that we want in our senior years. But it is going to mean reflecting on where we're attached, where we have to have things a certain way or we get upset. We have to really look at where we are right now, today, Now, if you decide that you're healthy and your mind is clear and your memory's good and your energy levels are high, you get proper sleep, all of that's wonderful. But most people out there, and I have clients from all over the world, thank goodness for Skype, they just don't know really how best to create a healthier tomorrow. A healthier tomorrow means that if we are willing to make certain changes in our life, that we can send the signals to our body that promote growth. Now, how do you send those signals? I've shared a little bit about what my day is like and how I've organized myself. But what's really important is that you know that your physical body has a tremendous capacity, no matter what age you are, and that's really what's important. We have to change the way that we think about the aging process. Life began they calculate about 3.5 billion years ago, life began on the planet. Of course, rudimentary life, very simple. But through a process of communication, because they were only single-cell organisms back then, they began at some point to realize that they'd do better off if they communicated with each other and they supported each other. That's evolution. And what evolved was this sophisticated system, simple in the beginning, but it grew over the years, over the millions of years, to a point where about 2.5 million years ago, the human brain evolved. Now, if you look at the human brain, and it's important to look at it this way, the brain is an organ and it communicates. It's the command center that sends signals to every part of your body. Now, the cells need nutrients in order to reproduce, but there's more to it than just that. Our brain has the capacity to send signals throughout the body that allows it to grow and to reach new levels of capacity. But you have to know how to use the body properly. The way that you breathe is essential. Most people are not breathing properly. They have shallow breaths. That means that there's much too higher levels of carbon dioxide in their bloodstream. That creates an acidic blood. Acidic blood goes to the brain and triggers the fight or flight reaction. So without being properly trained, even the way that you breathe could be contributing to the disease and the dysfunction that many people experience as they age. We're going to be talking about the necessity of breathing exercises in order to have a younger tomorrow. That's going to be in program 2. But knowing how to use the body properly is essential. So the things that I've been sharing with you up until this point are all really important. However, I want you to know the importance of the mind and its impact on the body. So lastly, I want to talk about the body-mind connection. Everything you think, everything you say, and everything you do, the brain picks it up and transmits it to the body. If you're under a stressful situation, well, the brain is going to help you out there. So it's going to send signals to the body to make it perform at a very high level under a lot of stress. That has an adverse effect over a long period of time. So we want to make sure that our nervous system is strong so that we can take the stressful moments, and that our body is strong so that it can take that amount of stress and recover from it. That's why sleep is so important, proper food and diet, all of those things. Because cellular reproduction, the way the cells reproduce, that's growth, is determined by your mind. Isn't that interesting? The mind does so much to impact the health of the physical body. Now, the senses in the physical body, got 5 senses. Those senses are designed to connect with the outside world and gather information. The information that the senses receive are communicated back to the brain via the nervous system. The brain then analyzes that information. So if something is too hot, you move your hand away. If something feels good, well, you keep your hand there. So your senses are constantly communicating with the world around you. So you want all your senses to operate and function at a very high level. And that's why the proper amounts of exercise, increasing your flexibility, your balance, your strength is so important. You want to be able to have your cells reproducing. Now, let's say you have something that's not working right in your body, right? And you've been around as many years as I have. It'd be pretty easy to have something malfunctioning, right? So I've been working with allergies, and I've always had a body which can tend to be very sensitive to things around it in the air. But as I get older and as my body gets stronger, I have less and less allergic reactions, almost nothing now. That makes the point. The body is either going to continue to grow or it's going to continue to decay. You're in charge. The brain receives messages from the mind. So when you're the person in charge, you have a body, you're not a body. You have a mind, you're not a mind. Isn't that good news? But that means that you are in control. So you can, right now, this very moment, you can break out of old patterns. And what you will do is you will literally force the brain to grow new cells. Do things differently as often as you can. Don't get caught in old patterns. Our brain communicates with the cells in the body. Now, it's hard. I've read many estimates of about 37 trillion cells in the body. Wow. And they're all talking to each other. And if they're trained properly, they'll work to create health and harmony in your physical body. However, where we are right now is, as you're listening to this program, I'm sharing some of the things I'm doing. I'm encouraging you to break out of old patterns and do things differently. What that means is you're going to have to fight homeostasis. So let's talk about homeostasis for a moment. That's a process where everything wants to remain the same. I have a client who had high blood pressure. And this was about 8 years ago. He was a businessman. He had his own company, entrepreneur, very successful, a lot of stress. He did it all. He was a one-man show. He had 37 employees, or has 37 employees, but he was the one who was in charge of everything. And because of that, he didn't know how to eat properly, exercise properly. He was in fairly good shape. If you looked at him, you'd think he was healthy. But his blood pressure was so high, his cholesterol levels were so high that the doctor said, you're going to be just like your father, who had a heart attack at 50 years old. This was his 50th birthday when he started working with me. So what John was able to do was able to say, okay, I want to not go on high blood pressure medicine. The doctor said, there's no way, you're going to die. You got to go on high blood pressure medicine. So that's when he came to me, and I began to work with him. Now, I convinced him, if the doctor says you need the medicine, take the medicine. But I can work with you in a way that over a period of time we can decrease your dependency on the medication and eventually you can get off of it. Well, a year later, much to the surprise of his doctor let him know he no longer needed the medication. Now, the reason that he was able to make those changes was he had to actively, daily, stay with a program to change homeostasis, because over the years his body took as normal this very high blood pressure. They thought, the body actually believed, oh, okay, so this is normal, we're going to keep you here. When he began to change his diet, when he began to do exercise, get him to do relaxation techniques, breathing techniques, I had him meditating. All of these things took a lot of effort because his body and his mind was used to a different reality. All of you have been living a life that you designed. But the question that I want to present to you is, some of those things that you've been doing have not really prepared you for your senior years. I want your memory to improve. I want your physical body to have more energy. I want you to lead a healthy and active sexual life. I want you to feel the vitality and energy and enthusiasm and curiosity that keeps us young in heart. But to do that, you have to realize that you're starting with a physical body and a mental body that is used to having things a certain way. So the big question is, are you ready to create a change? Because you can. You can do it. But just recognize that any kind of change is going to take some work. So let's look at how to move forward. Let's create some changes in your physical body starting today. Here's some suggestions. Write down your diet for the next week. Just write down everything you eat for a week. Now, if you do know a good dietitian, a nutritionist, then go over it with them and have them see. Maybe you're not getting the proper nutrients you need to be as healthy as you can be. But even if you don't take that step, still write down everything you eat for a week, because I know something. You're aware. You wouldn't be listening to this program if you weren't motivated to make some changes in your life. So as soon as you look at everything that you've been writing down, and when I have my clients do this, I would say at least 75% of them come back and say, oh, well, this was kind of an unusual week. I usually don't eat this way. Well, even that doesn't matter. You're going to see some patterns. Are you using the proper food combinations? Are you avoiding having liquids with solids? Are you having enough stabilizing food? There are 6 different body types. That means there are 6 categories of human beings with different genetic predispositions. That means there's not just one diet. There's not just one way of eating, one way of exercising, because it depends on your body type. We'll be talking about your body type in later on in the program. But what is important is just be aware. Notice the patterns. Many people report back to me that as soon as they look at what they're eating, they're going, wow, I didn't know I was eating chips that many times. Oh my goodness, I had a dessert 5 times last week. No wonder why I've got this extra 36 pounds on my body. Fat, by the way, is your body's signal to hibernate. The more fat you have on your body is in decay mode. Not growth mode, decay mode. Again, I reference back The Younger Next Year by Dr. Henry Lodge. Great book. Get that book and look into it. It's going to be very, very eye-opening when you see it. If we can be aware of what we eat, well, we can make the changes. Most of us are doing it unconsciously. We're not even aware of it. The journey begins with awareness. That's in the first chapter of our book, Enlightening Moments, Living Beyond the Frustration Cycle. And we'll be discussing that in program number 4. Second thing I'd like you to do is start exercising 6 times a week. Get an hour a day of exercise in 6 times a week. Challenge yourself. Go beyond what you're comfortable with. I guarantee that that's going to help. Now, in order to assist you and motivate you, right, keep a journal. Every day, write down. There's actually programs online you can Google. Just exercise journals, and they'll help you to do it right online. They have it all set up for you. But be responsible and take account of every time that you exercise and how much time that you put in. This will help to motivate you to continue the process. We're looking at making some major changes in your life. There's no doubt about it. Once again, you have a physical body. You're not the physical body. You're the one who's the driver of the car. But just like that poor guy changing the air in his tires, you don't have to waste your time doing that. This is very simple. You eat the proper foods, you don't overload the system, you exercise properly, you keep your mind clear, you know how to keep the brain growing. You want more brain cells. The reason why your memory decreases when you age is your brain cells are decaying and you're not stimulating them to grow. So the last thing I'd like you to do, the first is keep a journal, a diet journal. Second thing is exercise 6 times a week, 1 hour if you can do it, but keep a journal, keep a track of it. And the third thing is, please do something different every day. Break out of the patterns. Don't be caught in homeostasis. Now, when you begin to do something every day, and that can be as simply as I mentioned before, brush your teeth with the other hand, sit in a different place at the dinner table. Try different foods. What's that vegetable that you really don't like? Well, try a different recipe. Try cooking it in a different way. Try mixing up your salads. Experiment. When you do something differently, your body is going to respond in an extremely excited way. It's going to say, wow, I like this. And you're going to force it to grow. New synapse, stronger nervous system. That allows you to handle all of the stressful moments from a balanced place. Let's work at being more flexible. Take one exercise a week that's going to create flexibility. And there's a lot of good yoga classes out there. Pilates classes. There's a lot of things that can support you in becoming more flexible. Now, we're going to talk about the need to be flexible in the mind, but that's coming up in Program 3. Program 1 is, I wanted to give you some little pieces of information that can help you to make the changes that I know will benefit you physically. Sit down, take some notes, mental notes, or write them down. What did you just learn by listening to this program? We all need an instructional manual for our physical body. So now you know a little bit more, just a little bit, but it's enough where you can challenge yourself to go beyond your comfort level. I want you to know that there is so much that you can do in order to make the changes that will really help you to achieve your goals, to be feeling more energetic, to have better health, clearer mind, to enjoy your life. These are special years. We've gathered a lot of wisdom over the years, so now let's use it in a way that allows us to make some changes, challenge ourselves. Challenge is good. Go beyond your comfort zone. Remember, that frontal lobe needs to be stimulated, and the funny thing about that is you stimulate the feel-good hormones by doing something you're afraid to do. Isn't that interesting? By going into the unknown, you challenge yourself to use more of your brain. That's why the human species has been so successful in surviving. It's because we're programmed to do things differently. The more you do things differently, the healthier you get. So I've given you some ideas. Gave you a couple challenges. You've got some homework to do. Practice it, and then move on to program number 2 in the instruction manual for your energetic body.